The final illusion. If this is the first part of Apelles' story you found, I recommend watching part 1 and part 2 first. You'll experience his journey much more deeply. You'll find the links in the description and the pinned comment. Now, let's finish the story. By this stage in his life, Apelles had survived envy, political danger, rivalry, and the unpredictable temper of Alexander the Great. But the story that immortalized him across centuries came from a simple fruit. One day, Apelles painted a still life of grapes, but these weren't normal grapes. They were painted with such precision that the shadows were soft, the highlights glimmered like morning dew, and the texture seemed ready to burst with sweetness. When the painting was displayed outdoors, birds flew down and tried to eat the grapes. People gasped, the crowd cheered, and the story spread across Greece. Apelles had fooled nature itself. It became the most iconic story about his talent, a reminder that perfection doesn't require complexity, it requires mastery. But the greatest twist of his career was still waiting on the horizon. Apelles was working on one of his most ambitious paintings, a portrait of Alexander holding a thunderbolt. He wanted to capture the king's energy, ambition, and unstoppable desire for conquest. But something went wrong. The painting wasn't turning out as he hoped. The colors felt flat, the expression wasn't right, the composition lacked fire. Frustrated, Apelles grabbed a sponge, something painters use to clean excess paint. And in a moment of anger, he threw the sponge at the canvas. But what happened next changed everything. The sponge struck the canvas and created a perfect, explosive burst of color, the exact effect Apelles had spent days trying to achieve. Apelles froze. He stepped closer and whispered, "So, that's how lightning is born." The accidental texture became the finishing touch that transformed the entire painting. This moment became one of the most famous artistic lessons in history. Sometimes our mistakes complete what our skills cannot. Then tragedy struck. Alexander the Great died suddenly in Babylon. The empire collapsed into chaos. Cities fought. Generals betrayed each other. Old enemies resurfaced. And Apelles, who had once been at the center of the world, lost his greatest protector. The royal workshops were dismantled, the court dissolved, and the artists scattered. Apelles traveled between cities, painting portraits, capturing historical scenes, and teaching younger artists. But without Alexander's sponsorship, his name slowly faded from the political center of the Greek world. Yet his reputation among artists became stronger than ever. His teachings spread. His techniques evolved into standards of excellence. And centuries later, Romans would still say, "No painter has surpassed Apelles." Even without a single surviving painting, his legacy survived through stories, through admiration, and through the impact he had on all who followed. Here is the final paradox of Apelles' life. Not a single one of his paintings survived to today. Not the grapes, not Aphrodite, not Alexander. They're all gone. And yet, his name lives. His legend lives.
His influence reshaped art history, and his stories continue inspiring artists across the world. Why? Because although his paintings died, his impact didn't. What remains of Apelles is not the image, but the idea that mastery comes from discipline, humility, and the courage to keep painting even when the world changes. Apelles teaches us that you don't need your work to survive for your name to become eternal. You only need to create something so powerful that others cannot forget it.
If Apelles' journey inspired you, and if you enjoy learning English through powerful stories of artists, don't forget to subscribe and activate notifications. Your support helps keep these stories alive. Before we end this trilogy, let me say something directly to you. Like Apelles, maybe you sometimes feel unseen. Maybe you question your art, your talent, or whether your dreams still matter. But Apelles shows us something beautiful. Even if no one keeps your paintings, your effort matters, your passion matters, your creativity matters, and your story can inspire others in ways you may never expect. Art is not measured by survival, it's measured by impact. And you, yes you, have a world inside you waiting to be painted. Never stop creating. Apelles was just the beginning of our journey through ancient artists. To continue learning English while diving into powerful art stories, watch the next episode in this season, the story of Zeuxis, the painter who challenged the gods.